Good morning, Central Texas. Welcome to KISS Community Connections at 103.1. I'm Phyllis Jones, your host, and this morning I have a guest, and I'm going to introduce him kind of differently, only because I can get away with it. He can't say nothing. But first, we're going to, we're going to have a little talk, and we're going to talk about our friend COVID, because for some of us, COVID has become a friend and not just something we need to get rid of. You know, our numbers are high, and they're extremely high. And as you all know before, I told you, I'm a certified contact tracer. So during the breaks, I work for the state again because they're short contact tracers because they're too lazy to hire some more. But anyway, so I spend a whole bunch of time calling people. Yeah, that's all I do. The whole time is I'm calling people. And what I'm finding out, the only thing I'm supposed to tell you is, ask you who you've been near the last 72 hours, and I'm supposed to call them. But sometimes we get into conversations because you know what? COVID is a lonely illness. It is lonely. The reason I mean by lonely is you don't have to hold it.
Okay.
Just bring it up some. The whole thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right, I'm talking to my guests. But, with COVID, you can't have visitors. Nobody can come to your house. There is no, hey, how are you? There's none of that. And if you're supposed to isolate for 7 days, you're still in the same predicament. Nobody can see you or talk to you. So as I'm talking to people, the one thing I found out is that we like those cute masks. The cute ones, the real cute ones, with all the little saying on there, the little diamond stripes. We love those. Well, I'm not going to tell you what you need to wear because I can't do that. But what I'm going to tell you is that the best mask you can wear is either an N95 or KN95. Those are only masks we should be wearing, because that is your protection. And if you wear one, you'll find out it fits all around your face, so there's no air pocket in there. There's no air, there's no air space in there. You can breathe out of it because I wear them, and those are there to protect you and other people. So as COVID is becoming closer, because when it started, we didn't know many people, nobody. So and it's kind of that way if we think about it. Since we didn't know nobody, we was like, they ain't coming here. So Texas, it came to Texas. We was like, it's not coming down here where I live. Bam, hit Bell County. And we became, oh, shoot. Okay, well, I don't know nobody. Because that's how we talk. I don't know nobody. Then you found a name you knew. Oh, shoot, I know that person. Well, I haven't seen them in a long time, so I'm still okay. Oops, it comes closer to somebody you actually know that you talk to. Mm-hmm. So now it became a personal issue. So now we jump up and care, but we're not doing enough. We still hug each other, mm-hmm. And say, I know her, I know him. You might, and I'm not saying that they got it, but you don't know who they talk to, because remember, each of us have a set of people that we trust. We all do. We know we do. We'll say, I'm not going to eat her food because I don't know her, I don't know him. I know that person, I eat what they. We know those people. So remember, when you hugging somebody, you're hugging them with all the people that you hugged. Y'all are hugging. Well, it might pass you. Because you might be asymptomatic, but it might get to the next person. So as we continue with this pandemic, as we continue walking through the ways with it, let's wear the mask. And me, I got to go overboard, so I wear the gloves too. When I pump gas, I wear the gloves. I really do. I wear the medical purple gloves when I pump gas. Mr. Jones is laughing at me, but I'll get him later. But I do. I'll be like, everybody's touched that pump. So I wear gloves when I pump gas, yes. And if I go somewhere really where I've never been, I have on bright purple gloves until I find some black ones. Because y'all know I need the black ones, not the purple. But anyway, I go overboard with it. So, and I'm okay with that. And if you're okay with that, do that. But what I'm saying, people, is listen, I love my family just as much as everybody else. But we got to be careful, because our family, not that they're bringing it, remember what I'm saying, is that we're always in contact with somebody. So we got to be careful of us all. We got to do it together. And we got to remember, when you wake up in the morning, COVID is still saying, hey, how you doing? But we need to be saying, I don't want you, and go away. And we need to do what we need to do. Some of us are holistic. I am. So those herbs that your ancestors left you, those things, those roots and all, you might want to try some of them too. You might want to. I'm not going to say you got to, but they left those for us for a reason. And sometimes we need to, use Sankofa, which is go back and get it. And we need to remember some of those things too as we are traveling along this road, because remember, we don't see an end to this. You know, flu season, we are flu season gone. We're through with that right now. COVID doesn't have one of those. Doesn't have a season. It just likes you all day, every day. You know, and it doesn't pick. It doesn't say, well, you know what? I'm going to go get these people over here. But you know the people who are low catching COVID, Mr. Jones?
Ooh.
Homeless.
Interesting. Yeah.
Of all the population with COVID, homeless are the least likely to catch it.
Wow.
It just think. But guess what? That's because they're usually all by themselves.
That's true.
And they're with the same group every day. And they're with each other all day. They don't interact with many people because we don't want to interact with them. Not being negative, but it's true. So that's the least population that has it. So what I'm saying is, please think about going to get the regular mask that you do need. And the beautiful masks, I'm sorry, but you know, they're not doing anything for you. And not doing anything for me either. Because remember, you talking to me with that mask on. So, you know, it gives me a fear factor when you walk toward me and I'm looking at your mask and that's not the one you're supposed to be wearing. So wear the right mask. Yes, they do cost more. I will admit that. They do. But which is more important? The higher price you're going to pay for a mask that can protect your life, or wearing the cute little mask and you catching COVID and you end up in the hospital. Because one person that it's one person that most of us know, but he's been on a ventilator for 20 days. 20 days. Not 14, 20. And guess what? COVID took his kidneys out. So now he's on dialysis. Now just picture, you were fine. You catch COVID. Not only do you catch it, you're in a hospital. Now you're on dialysis. That's terrible.
Yes.
And guess what? He doesn't know where he got it. But just think, 20 days you're in the hospital. 20 on a ventilator for 20 days. You fighting for your life. 20 days and your kidneys shut down. So now you're on both. Now remember, when he gets finished and well again, his kidneys are still damaged. So he'll continue dialysis. But just think. And also, before we move ahead, a friend of mine, and we all know him too, basically, he went to the hospital, got tested, and they told him that he only had an upper respiratory infection. Mm-hmm. That's all he had. I'm not going to say the hospital. You know, so he went home, and his breathing wasn't getting good at all. His breathing was so bad until he could not talk. So he went to get up, and he fell out the bed. And I'm going to say this. It's a good thing he fell out the bed because his roommate heard his boom, you know. So he goes in. The guy's laying in the floor. So the roommate does what he should and shouldn't have done. The roommate had on no mask. He helped him up, helped the guy get dressed, and took him to the hospital. No mask on. As soon as he got to the hospital, they told him he had COVID. He didn't have an upper respiratory infection. He had COVID. And he went to another hospital. And so he's still there. He tried to call me on the phone, let me know where he was. He couldn't say hi. I heard the breathing, the constant, I heard that. And, you know, since we do have smartphones, my phone told me who it was. But he couldn't breathe enough to say hi. So I said, hang up and text me. You know, and his texting wasn't good because, you know how you got to read somebody's stuff twice? Right. And then you figure out what, I said something like that. He can't even see to text me. You know, but he's in the hospital right now, fighting with a breathing problem. And he can't talk to say hi. Now just think, hi takes what? Hi? But he couldn't say that. I heard a beginning and I heard all his breathing, heavy breathing. So immediately I was like, hang up and text me. But his texting wasn't good, so there's that. But anyway, my guest. I met my guest when he was an assistant principal at our elementary school. And one thing I'll say about him, one, I think he had every color glasses that they sold in the United States. and,
you remember that?
And the kids, what made me remember that is the kids, listen to them in the hallway, when they would see you walking toward them, they would, the first thing they said, what color glasses you think you got on today? And it was hilarious. It wasn't, hello, Mr. Jones. It wasn't, I hate him. I don't want to see him because he mean. It was none of that. Because believe me, elementary kids have no problem saying that. They was like, what color glasses he got on today? You know, which was cool because that wasn't a negative, but it was a positive, and it was something they needed to see what color he got on. But he was a great assistant principal. He had the behaviors, and you know, elementary school we have 13,000 behaviors in there. But it was one little boy who used to see him 4 days out of 5. I swear, I'm telling you, 4 days of the week he was in Mr. Jones' office. And so we just call him, we started calling the little boy his son.
You did.
and I think that little boy made him to who he is today. But I'm gonna tell you what remarkable thing he did. He made a deal with this little boy that if he behaved and graduated, because he was in pre-K, that he would wear a tux. The little boy did it, and Mr. Jones actually came to school with a tux on for his graduation. Now, to some of them are like, so what? No, that was a phenomenal thing, because he showed that little boy, if you do this, I'm going to do that. And he promised him that, and he did it. Because a lot of times we'll promise the kids that we ain't doing it. We had no intentions of doing it. But he actually did it. So that was a phenomenal thing. Yes, it might have been small for us, but for that little boy, no, that was a big thing. So I think that was really his adopted son, because he should have just adopted.
Who became my godson.
Because they were inseparable. I mean, totally inseparable, which was good. Like I said, because you rarely find an AP that the kids love. You don't. But Mr. Jones, and I guess I have to call you Dr. Tom Jones.
Or Dr. Tom, or
I am
just
not
Tom.
I'm just going to say Tom. But anyway, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing great. Well, I say that, but as you can hear, I have some cedar fever. So just bear with that.
Okay, so what are you doing now?
Right now, I'm doing two things. You know, I'm a bit of a workaholic. I've always been. I'm working as the branch manager for the Exceptional Family Member Program on Fort Hood. I have a fantastic staff, and they work very hard to meet the needs of the families in the military and outside of the military that have special needs children or spouses. The second thing I'm doing is I have my own private practice, Lake Inc.'s Professional Services. And I do that in the evenings from starting around 5:30 to about 8:30 at night. So I have very long days. And I see people for a variety of things. I see adults and children. I do individual, I do group, I do family, and I do assessments and evaluations.
So can you go to the White House and evaluate them?
Some people are above my level of education.
Okay, so we're going to jump in with the first question.
Okay.
For the first time in the United States, we've had, once again, COVID. And COVID has caused all the kind of adjustments. Some of them, all the objectives and changes are experimental. Mm-hmm. We need to understand they're experimental. So there's no perfect plan, because we've never had COVID to have a plan. So everything we're doing now is experimental. So you need to remember that. It's not a carved in stone, voted on, tested for 20 years. No, it was, oh, shoot, what do we do real quick? So we have kids that are on virtual. And I'm not downing that, because some parents truly, feel that that's the safest way for their child to be safe from catching COVID and to have them at home virtually. But we talked to some parents, and some parents, their kids are experiencing to be different people now. Mm-hmm. So the first question, Tom, I would like to ask you is a friend of mine. He has a 15-year-old son.
Okay.
And they used to talk. He'd go over visit his son. They would talk, basketball, football, sports, all that stuff that a 15-year-old talks about. But now so his ex-wife, she's got both kids on virtual. But now his 15-year-old son has went from, hey, dad, da-da-da, boom, all this other talk, till he goes over, he goes, hi, his son, hi. He goes back in the bed. He'll play video games, but he's regressed to loving his bed. So what's going on with this young man?
This is a time for anxiety and depression for not only adults, but also children. And I'm saying as young as 2 and 3 years old. At 15, you're going through a developmental stage of several different things. Your hormones are midway kicked in, and all kinds of changes are taking place. And the hormonal puberty can bring on depression and some other things, because your body is going through major changes. But with all the stuff that we're going through in our environment, all of the things that are taking place in the world that have never happened before, everyone is thrown through who knows what. You have people who are dying in the thousands. You have uncertainty about all kinds of things. You have education flipped on its ear. You have people who are learning virtually, and a lot of people not learning at all. So to answer what I think is going on is probably a combination of the anxiety coupled with depression. A lot of the anxiety and some of the other what we call disorders, for lack of a better term, which means that it's a long-term ingrained thing, brings a friend. And oftentimes the friend is depression, and depression has a lot of different factors to it. One of the things that you have described is the anxiety leading to anxiety and depression. And what kids do is they retreat. Adults retreat. Mm-hmm. And what this young man may be doing is retreating into his own world where he has a sense of control as to what's going on. So playing the video games, staying in a reduced environment gives him a sense of control in this chaotic world. My recommendation would be for him to not force him out, but engage him. Don't give up on engaging him in some positive things. And I would encourage some therapy. I would encourage some activities within safety for the young man to be involved with. If he has a common interest, get involved with that with him. Don't let him go, because once he gets entrenched in depression can spin him in a lot of different directions. Depression can lead somebody to self-medicate with drugs and alcohol, with sex, with theft, with all kinds of things that are not positive. It's very rare somebody gets depressed and becomes a straight A student.
Right, yeah.
So I would recommend that he look for some therapy, but don't give up on your son. Keep reaching out to him. Keep letting him know that you're there for him, that you can talk about anything. One of the things that I see that a lot of parents are doing, which I would advise them not to do, is to talk to them with the stuff on the news.
Okay.
What all the stuff on the news doesn't need to be talked about with the children. You're adding adult issues on someone who's not mentally capable of handling them. Your frontal lobes, where your decision making is made, and your cause and effect and your reasoning is held, doesn't form until you're 23, 25. So some of these adult issues just weigh and get twisted in a child's mind.
Okay.
And so that would be my recommendation. Sorry that answer took so long.
No, I mean, it needs to be, because I'm sure that it's happening to his son.
Yes.
It's probably happening to a whole bunch of other kids.
Yes.
And parents. So my answer to him might have been all wrong. I don't think so. I told him that his son is losing his social and emotional skills. Because I told him at school, your kid is a different child at school. I said, in at school, he can't say, look at that ugly teacher with her ugly shoes.
Right.
They can't talk about the girl who thinks she cute, but she ain't. They can't talk about, I need some shoes like that boy got. How much did you pay for them? I told him those conversations are gone.
Right.
I say, so they're not that person at school socializing, but also reminded him that we, as being older, we know not exactly what to do. But what I'm saying is that, okay, during the March, the April time we were in the house.
Right.
Yes, I went literally crazy. But what I would do is just get out and get in my vehicle. I might not go nowhere. No place. I'm not going anywhere particularly. I'm just getting out of the darn house, because my house became this horrible place. It did. You can only clean it so much. And, being on the computer, I am on there if I'm working. But when I'm not, I'm getting off of there because it gets on my nerves. So everything got on my nerve. So I went out and explored Killeen.
Okay.
I did. I went down streets that I've never been down before.
Okay.
Where somebody said this. But I told him we as adults, we can just leave the house.
Right.
Just leave. I say, so we have an advantage, because we will leave and say, I'm tired of dealing with this. I'm like, but he can't just leave the house and get in his car and go, because he can't.
Right.
He's stuck. And also his daughter, she went from being on the honor roll to now she's getting fat.
Yes.
She's getting fat, and she's no longer on the honor roll. Her grades have went in the toilet. So they're trying to figure out, should they put the kids back in school or should they leave them virtual? And that's where they're in the balance there. And I imagine a lot of parents are in that state of, do I send them back? Do I keep them home? I don't know what to do with this kid that I don't know no more.
Exactly. And a lot of times people will, like we talked about, your treating your depression with different things. Food is another. And unfortunately, food is acceptable to gorge on until you start to get fat. And so then there's some negative consequences to that. But kids need an outlet. Kids need an appropriate way to handle stress. And kids need boundaries. One of the things that is happening, we fight against boundaries, but boundaries make and keep us safe. And school and the predictability of routine is a boundary for us. I know that I'm supposed to be in this class. I'm supposed to sit in this seat. So there's a lot of structure. When you're working from home, unfortunately, there's not a lot of structure. And we are very social animals. And kids are even more so. Their peers mean more to them a lot of times than their parents. And when that's all taken away. So when the kids are at a loss, they're struggling. I'm wondering what this one's doing, what that one's doing. Some of them are blowing up Instagram and all, what is that, TikTok, TikTok and all of that. And but that gets old after a while too. And what I'm seeing in my caseload, my private practice, is kids suffering from social anxiety with depression or with depressive features. And so their social skills are beginning to suffer. And rather than for them to be engaged with family, that's gotten old. So they retreat or they engage with the family in a negative way. Positive or negative attention is still attention.
Yes.
So I will pick a fight with my sister. I'll pick a fight with mom and dad. Mom and dad want the house cleaned a certain way. I'm not going to do it. So, because I need that interaction.
Right.
And so if I don't get that interaction one way, I'm going to get it another. And unfortunately, the parents are also going through things at work, in the environment. Okay, I'm trying to work, but I got these kids at home. I'm not a teacher. So, I'm trying to follow up with their homework. We send things in. The teacher says she didn't get it. Everybody is chaotic. People are losing their homes. People are being laid off. There's a lot of stress and anxiety for a lot of us. And as a result of that, we can look forward to long-term PTSD from this thing.
That's true.
Post-traumatic stress syndrome is going to be even bigger than it has been. A lot of people associate that with the military. No, anytime you're faced with a situation that overly taxes your nerves and stresses you out way beyond what you normally would experience, there's some residue left with that. Now, some people, I always say everything in life is on a continuum from 1 to, let's say, 100. It's actually infinity, but let's say 1 to 100. I may be able to handle stress up to 35. You may be able to handle stress up to 45. Everybody falls along a continuum. But when you're pushed beyond what you're actually able to handle and cope with, then there's going to be some residue after that. And so not only is this a family thing or an individual thing, this is a community, a worldwide thing. And this is going to be with us for a while, even if hopefully COVID-19 goes away, we're still going to be living with some of the residue from this.
The aftermath. Okay, I work special ed. So it's weird to say it, but it's true. We're different than everybody else.
Yes.
We're kind of different. And we're different in a good way because we're able to adapt to anything.
That's true.
We're able to adapt with anything thrown our way. We're ready. I'm not going to say we're, brilliant minds, but we're ready. Kids can't do anything that we say, what that? We might say where'd that come from, but we won't say I've never seen that before because we have. So working with special needs kids gives some of us an insight.
Yes.
And I'm explaining it. It's one little girl. She was homeschooled. I mean, yeah, she was virtual. She's not in our class. She's not special ed. But so now she's back in school, and she's in the first grade. So we went to PE the other day, and we didn't know who she was. She's in a regular class, and we're in PE with 2 other classes. But she was scooting herself on the floor, all around the floor, on her knees, sitting on her knees.
Right.
But she was scooting herself all around the floor. So we were watching her. So we asked the PE church, "Hey, what's wrong with her? This is what she does." For real, seriously? We're like, for real, seriously, this is what she does. Yeah. So why? Because we're special ed.
Right.
Why? We said, why she do that? I don't know. Did anybody ask her? No. Okay, so that's when we decide we can't let a kid go because we don't know how. So went and I sat. She was coming my direction, so I sat on the floor right where she had to come past me. So she gets to me and stopped. I said, "Hey, come here." And she looked at me. She said, "No." I said, "I don't know what that word means. I really don't, and I don't accept that word." I said, "Sit down." She said, "What? Sit down." And she sat down. I said, "So why are we cleaning the floor?" And she goes, "I'm not cleaning the floor." "Yes, you really are." I said, "Cause see, y'all. I said, see all these kids playing? Their dirt is on your pants now." I said, "So you have new dirt and new germs all over your pants. So why are you doing this?" She said, "I don't know." "No, you really do know." So she looked at me again as if to say, "What you talking about?" I said, "No, you know why you're doing this. So why are you doing this?" And so she looked at me. I said, "So, okay, so for me, it was time for me to change that script." I said, "Do you realize that these teachers in here looking at you like an idiot?" I said, "Do you know how weird you look doing this? Do you really understand why they looking at you? They're looking at you." I said, "They're not trying to help you. They're not doing anything. They're just going to let you do this. And you're going to continuously doing it." I said, "So guess what? You're going to get negative attention." I said, "Now I know you want some attention and you want me to talk to you." She said, "No, I don't." "Yes, you do, because you didn't move. You didn't scoot around me like you should have." "You stopped." So I said, "So let's talk. So why are we doing this for real? Seriously?" She said, "You don't want to know." I said, "Well, see, that's not true. Because if I didn't want to know, I would let you keep scooting around here looking crazy." She said, "Looking crazy?" "Yes." She said, "My teacher didn't say that." I said, "But I asked her point blank." I said, "Your teacher look like me?" She said, "No." "Good, thank you." She didn't she understood that after I said that.
Right.
But I want to get her point across. "I'm no teacher. I don't care if I don't look like her." I said, "But you really do look crazy, seriously. So why are we doing this?" She said, "I don't want to tell you right now." Okay, now that was an intelligent thing she said.
Yeah.
Because now I know that I need to wait. I do know I need to continue talking with her.
And she lets you know something's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I say, so I'm going to ask you, what else? Okay, so now that I've not broken the ice, but it's a little bent a little bit there where I got to end. So what else would I do other than, because I'm not going to talk to her. I talked to her teacher, and so she's just allowed to do this because there's nobody saying, "Hey, why are you looking crazy?" And her teacher, she said, "Why did you talk to her like that?" "I'm a grandmother."
There you
She
go.
goes, "What?" She said, "Because you're a mother." "No, I'm not. I know. I say I'm a mother, yes, but no. I'm that next step person. I'm a grandmother." I said, "You got to understand, there's 2 different conversations. That a mother and a grandmother, we have totally different conversations." I said, "It's just a thing. You need to understand." I said, "But no, I'm a grandmother. I talk to her as a grandmother, not as a mother." And the teacher didn't understand it. I'm like, "It's okay." I say, "Well, I'm sorry, but it's a thing that she knows and I know it, so I'm good." So what should be done next with her?
Well, I would remind her in a subtle way, "Hey, you promised me you were going to share something with me. Are you going to do it today? Or are you going to do it before the period ends?" I would give her a time frame.
Right.
Because she's already said, "I don't want to talk about it right now."
Right. Yeah.
So she, in a sense, lets you know there's something that's on her mind, and she's going to share it with you. But you may have to remind her, and she may be testing you to see if you're just going to blow it off.
Right. Oh yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And then once she talks about it, then the next step would be for you to help her process it. Okay.
Right.
So whatever's going on with you, you're choosing to handle it by scooting around on the floor. What are some of the other things that you can do? Now that I know, I can also help you. So you don't have to scoot anymore.
Right.
I'm here for you. Let's brainstorm some things you can do that will resolve the situation or get some help started for the situation without scooting around on the floor.
Yeah, because I'm like, "Scoot, get up." I really wanted to, say, get out the floor, but no.
At the last school that you and I worked at together, I had a young boy come to me. I was an approachable assistant principal.
Yeah, you were. Yeah.
And so he came to me and he was crying. And I said, "What's the matter?" He said, "Roger called me a banana." And I didn't know whether that was slang for something, So I asked him, I said, "So what does that mean?" He said, "A banana that you peel and eat." So like you said, when you work special ed, you're a little different.
Yes.
So I said, "So are you a banana?" And he said, "No, I'm not a banana." I said, "So why are you upset that he called you a banana?" I said, "If I called you a sandwich, would that upset you?" And he said, "No." And he started smiling and started laughing. I said, "What if I called you another food group? What if I call you a hamburger? Would that get you?" "Well, no, that's silly." I said, "So
Right.
a banana is no different than him calling you any of the things that I called you." And when I would see him in the hall periodically, I'd think of something. I'd say, "You popcorn." And he would bust up laughing. But that was our little thing.
Right.
But now that you've opened the door for her to share with you in a way that she knows she's not going to be judged, and that you already have a collagen relationship.
Yes. we both look the same.
A melon relationship.
Yeah.
That opens the door too.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting to find out what is actually bothering her. And I know in you that you'll actually help her.
Yeah, we're going to go through this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're in it for the long haul. Boy, oh boy, it's going to be a long one too. Okay, so I got to ask you. Okay. And not that we live in two different worlds, but yes, some of my world is way over there somewhere. And what I mean is this. Along with all the things I do, I went to this class to learn and to be a I can teach child sex trafficking.
Okay.
I can do the workshop, the whole 9 yards. I peel it all the way back. We don't talk cute. We talk bam, just in there. So I want to know, does it enter your conversation? Meaning with this, the little girl, go back, who's 9 years old, who's getting rather chubby. I told her dad, I said, "Listen," I said, "I want to tell you what happened to one little girl." I said, this is since we've been virtual. I said, she was at home, elementary age kid. In fact, she was 8. She was sitting on a chair playing little video games with her mother's phone. Mother's in the kitchen cooking. So every now and then, Mom would just look out. She's still there. She, go back cooking. She looked out, still there. She looked out third time, she wasn't there. So she called her daughter's name. Daughter didn't answer. So, she's like, "What the world? Where's this girl at?" So she, went, and her daughter was in the bathroom. Her daughter was in the bathroom in her makeup, Mom's makeup, and she's putting her makeup on. So her mother goes, "You know better than doing it. What's going on?" Well, her mother looked at the phone. The phone was on the soap dish because, sometimes the soap dish is on the
right.
There's a man on the soap dish telling her to put on makeup.
Mm-hmm.
And the little girl's doing it. What Mom had to later find out is the man entered the girl's phone game because they do that.
Yes.
Well, he entered to the little girl's game. She's been talking to him. She told her mother he's a friend. But the thing is, she's virtual.
Right.
And she doesn't talk to anybody.
Right.
So talking to him was cool.
Yes.
Because he was cool. So she did put on the makeup and she'd put it on wrong naturally. But anyway, the thing is, he got her to leave where she was in her little living room, playing games, to go into her mother's, not her mother, but to go into her mother's makeup and putting it on and trying to brush her hair the way he said. The mother's other part is her little girl could have left the house.
Yes.
And who knows what would have happened. But that came from her being virtual so much heavily onto her games.
Yes.
So does that ever cross you when you talking to kids?
Yes, because the virtual world is a gold mine for pedophiles. Mm-hmm. And what they do is they start grooming like we talked about depression and the need for social outlets and conversation, and him giving her all this positive feedback about who she is and how she looks and what she could do. He's actually grooming her. What I've seen is that eventually he will ask her to do something a little more sexual.
Right.
Show me your breast. Let me see what you look like naked. And by this time, she's feeling comfortable with him and taking instructions from him. And so she does that. After she does it once and he takes pictures or does whatever he's doing on his other end, he then turns mean and threatens to show that to her mother, her father, her friends at school, and all of this stuff, because he has all that information now because she's provided it. And I'm saying she, but this could be a little boy as well.
That's true.
And so, so then he has a hold on her, and he can virtually make her do whatever he wants to do, because again, we're social. We want to please our parents. We want to please people in our world. And kids don't have the judgment because their frontal lobes are not developed until much later, and they find themselves trapped in these situations that will later cause them a lot of pain, a lot of anxiety.
Right, yeah, once again.
To the point where there have been those who committed suicide.
Right. Yeah. So we're in a complicated world right now.
Yes, we are.
That's not cool.
No, the roaring 20s have not been good for us.
It's not good. Because what we're doing now is attempting, first of all, everybody, not just me as working at school, everybody, adults actually, it's more of us. We're attempting to make things as normal as possible.
Right.
With the restraint that we can't.
Right.
And then we're trying to be teachers when we're not.
Right.
Because let's face it, every 2 seconds there's a new math.
Right. Exactly.
You know, so your kid's going to bring you this work and you're going to look at it and go, for real, seriously? I don't know what that is. I don't even know how you got to that answer. And believe me, I know, because not that I have, but, you know, I've seen kids, Miss Phillips, I can't do my work. I look at it, me either. I look at it, I don't know what that is. And they look at you, didn't you go to school? Yeah, but they changed it. I don't know what that is.
With the old school.
Yeah, you know. So we're trying to be people that we're not, which is us an educator, and then we're trying to be a parent. And I think, and I don't know if I'm right, but I would think that a student, a kid, the same respect you have for your teacher is not the same respect you can have for your parent trying to teach you at home.
That's right. That's right.
Go ahead.
Because parents have unconditional love. And if I act up at home a little bit, my mom's still going to love me. If I don't get the problem right, mom's going to work with me, dad's going to work with me, and it's not going to be a big a deal. Now, when we were growing up, we knew to act right at home as well as at school because there were more consequences.
Right.
Schools can't deliver the consequences that they did back in our day.
Right.
And so some of the respect that we were commanded to give adults outside of the home, as well as adults in the home, have been eroded. And so, you know, I will chance and I will call Mrs. So-and-so out of her name, or I'll refuse to do some work for someone. And unfortunately, the teachers may not be as resilient as our teachers were. They may not have the skills. They're going through their own topsy-turviness.
Right.
One of the jobs I've had, and you know I've had many, one of the jobs that I had was the director of guidance and counseling for Temple Independent School District. And I was also the district hearing officer.
Ooh.
And so I was the one who was the Judge Mathis to determine whether or not someone went to the alternative school or not. Oftentimes, there was reports that I could see that this kid and this teacher had some issues above and beyond what the kid did. And a teacher is empowered to be able to make or break a child.
Right.
And unfortunately, you have some kid killers.
Yes.
And as an adult, my frontal lobes are pretty well, in most cases, defined. And so I can cause a kid to act up in my class to get him or her out of my class and reduce my class and reduce the tension and stress in my class.
Right.
Because I can outthink a child.
Yes.
And so I say, everyone get your books out. Okay, Tommy, you're getting your books out too slow. That's non-compliance. Everybody else got their books out. Why are you taking your time getting your books out? You're going to the office. Now, in actuality, I may have wanted to go to the office because this is math, and I'm a poor math student anyway. I don't want everybody in my class, my peers, to know that I can't do math. So this works well for me.
Right. That's true.
Yeah. So it's stressful for the teachers. It's stressful for the parents. It's stressful for the kids. And my concerns as a lifelong educator is what's going to happen in the future. What's going to happen to my special ed kids who this is not working for them at all.
No.
Many of them are not getting the therapy they need, whether it be physical therapy or occupational therapy or their ABA therapy. It's reduced. Parents are not equipped to meet the needs of this new education system. I watched a thing on Facebook, and they were walking through the steps of math, and our old math could have solved it in 1 or 2 steps.
Right.
And had time to go back and check it before they finished this long, drawn out, you round up, you round off, that whole thing that they're doing now, it's just different.
Yes.
I won't say it's good or bad. It's just different.
Yeah,
I've been out of education for a while now. But the children are at a great disadvantage.
Right.
Especially those who are not visual learners, those who are not auditory learners, and those who are tactile learners are going to find some unique struggles in this whole virtual world.
Right.
And poor parents, the anxiety they must be feeling. Do I send my child back to school and put them at risk? And if they get sick and end up in the hospital and die, not only am I losing a child, I'm blaming myself for having put them in that situation.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
And what was my justification? Did I just not want to be bothered? Or did I really think it would be better for them to be in school? So, they will end up needing some time on somebody's couch.
That's true. It would. Yes.
It's just a whole crazy world that we're feeling our way in the dark. This has never happened before, and there's no right or wrong answers. It's just we're trying to find our way through.
I work with the unique people, the 4-year-old special ed kids. Yeah, those are the unique ones. They will make you pull your hair out and glue it back in.
With Elmer's.
Yeah. And sometimes we wish they made Gorilla Glue chapstick. But they don't. I don't know why. But, most of our kids wear masks. Mm-hmm. Okay. Only because it's cute.
Right.
Well, the masks are cute because the parents go get, the superheroes and all that. So they'll keep their masks on. And they'll make sure that we have one on, too. But what our special needs kids will do is they don't know what 6 feet away is.
No.
And they don't know what social distancing and don't touch me is. So we get hugs regardless.
Right.
Whether you're like a 4-year-olds, they hug us on the thigh, drag your leg and hold on to it to which you pry the kid loose. But they don't understand what you got to stay away from me means. To them, if I say you got to stay away, I hurt their feelings because they generally love you and want to hug you. But, we have a new principal. And she came in our room and she said something. We fell out laughing because we knew what the answer was going to be. I don't think she was quite happy that we, But she was asking us about social distancing. So we looked at her like, therefore. She goes, I know, therefore. So all we kept saying is, therefore. So we were like, okay, we'll show you. So we had the smartest girl in our room. We told her, hey, you have to stay 6 feet away from me. So she looked down and she said, Miss Phyllis. I said, yes. She said, I only have 2 feet.
And that's a real answer. That's a real answer.
So we looked at the principal. She goes, she does only have 2 feet. She does see one. She says, so right. So they can't comprehend social distancing because you said 6 feet. They only have 2. But then she came to me. She said, Miss Phyllis. I said, yes. A caterpillar can stay 6 feet away. They can even stay more. And the principal looked. She goes, she went and thought about what I said. And she came back with, who does have that many feet?
That's right.
I said, so in their world, that was it. She got 2 feet. I said, so there's no comeback for her. I couldn't come back with nothing.
Nothing.
I'm done. I said, so we had to look at it as in their world.
Right.
That we can't tell them. I said, now we social distance when they eat. And when they're working in their own spaces, they are distance away. We said, but when it comes to us, no, they no. I said, because she just said she got 2 feet. She don't have 6.
Exactly.
Said, so she can't do it. And, we were trying to explain to her, sorry, but 3, because special needs kids can come in 3, just in case anybody doesn't know. We said that's not in their head. They can't comprehend 6 feet away. We're like, so yes, we put ourselves in danger daily. We said because one, special needs kids have to touch you,
right? Except
for some autistic kids won't, but they're touchy feely, and we're not ours when we enter their space. We're theirs,
right?
So so and so needs a hug. Our kids will choose who's they're gonna hug. They choose, but that's the exception. They don't get the 6. They get the mask, but they don't know why they're wearing the mask. They really don't. They have no clue why they're wearing it, but they'll keep it on and they'll wear it because they've been taught this is what you do. We wear them, so they'll wear them. But the distance thing is something that people need to understand, that these little people don't get it.
Right.
Because it makes no sense. Because they don't know what a virus is.
No. And see, all of the instructions that we're giving out are abstract concepts. 6 feet, wearing a mask, things like that. Kids, and especially in elementary school, I've never been so sick in my life. But once I had my elementary sickness,
yes,
I was fine. No, I probably can't catch COVID-19 because I've been in the elementary school.
That's it. Yes.
And they hug you because that's what they need.
Yeah.
And sometimes I was the only one that hugged them all day long. When they went home, there were no hugs. And so you make yourself available to those who want to hug you, especially my special ed kids.
Yes.
And then you flip that and you look at adults. Now, I've stood in line to get in Home Depot. Everybody outside of Home Depot, 6 feet apart, wearing a mask. Once you get inside the store, everybody's shoulder to shoulder. Maybe a mask, but not 6 feet apart until you go to check out.
Right.
But while you're in the store and you're mingling around, it's all over the place. Then we have super spreaders with people who are not in special ed, maybe should have been in special ed, having all kind of parties and activities and doing all kind of things and thinking that this whole COVID-19 is a political game or something else. And they don't have a reason because they have the frontal lobes that are developed. But they're making choices. They're making poor choices that affect everyone else.
So what about are they the same? The high school kid, who's the super jock, he's football, basketball. What happens to him when he's the best? But now we have COVID. His mother said his parents have decided to keep Mr. Super Jock home.
Yes.
He's not super no more.
And the sad thing is, depending on when they are, their sports record will, another thing I used to do, I used to be a high school guidance counselor. Their scores and their ratings and their points all help them prepare for scholarships and for recruiters to come in and take a look at them to see if they're going to invite them to their college.
Right.
So all of that's been affected. What I would recommend is that you have them practice their skills. Keep kids in a routine as much as possible. Okay, you would normally have 2 hours of drill. Let's get out there and let's do that. Weightlifting, you can buy weights at the Goodwill. Running, jogging, whatever you need to do to keep yourself going. And that also fights against depression.
Okay.
And that also helps with anxiety. So structure, again, goes back to kids needing structure. Structure so that they're still getting what they would get as close as possible before all of this.
But what happens when you have the kids virtual?
Yeah.
But one of the parents, which was a 2-parent working household, one of those parents has to stay home. So
Yes.
now let's say the family loses from $500 up because mom or dad, who's ever the one, is forced to stay home.
Yes.
So now you have a child that might be blamed for, I got to stay home with you
Right.
to do this. And the kids hear what parents saying.
Yeah.
So what do you do with this kid who's, first of all, has anxiety from being virtual? Now you got anxiety that your mother or father got to stay home with you and they're losing money because you're. So what do you do with this kid? Because 2 people have crashed in on their head.
It wouldn't be the kid. It would be the family.
Okay, the family, yeah.
Let's look at the dynamics. Sometimes as a parent, you have to make sacrifices. And you have to make sacrifices for the good of your kids. Pointing fingers and making someone feel guilty and bad. Kids already think that anything that happens in a family is their fault. When there's a divorce, they internally blame themselves when they had nothing to do with it. So one of the things that kids and parents have to have conversations about is the fact that they are not responsible for some of the things that are taking place. And also, in our melanin families,
Right.
use this as a good opportunity to instill some of the things in your kids that you didn't have time to talk about.
Okay.
What to do if you're pulled over. What makes a good friend, what makes a good associate. Not everybody needs to be your friend. Some people need to be associates.
Yes.
What kind of male or female do you want to look for to be a life partner, a husband, a wife? So use this time in a constructive way. If you're into the Bible or the Quran or anything, go over some of those things. Go over some of the things on television and then have a discussion about them.
Right.
Yeah, we just watched whatever popular show is out there now. Let's talk about that. What happened? Why do you think that happened? What decisions could that character have made that would change things around to their benefit? So utilize this time. It doesn't have to be wasted dead time.
Right. Where the kids retreat to their bedroom.
Exactly.
Or to their bed. Same thing. Because, yeah. So what do you do with the adults with the issue of don't leave their home? And when they finally do, it's like, oh my gosh. And they got the fear factor of COVID, you know.
I've had an increase in my private practice counseling as working with agoraphobics. Mm-hmm. That's people who are afraid to go outside. And there's been an increase in my caseload of people who have excessive compulsive disorder. We have been washing our hands and face and Lysol and all of this stuff that's feeding into a lot of the disorders that normally would be on the surface,
right,
that have now come to the forefront and have triggered a lot of people's anxiety into these different disorders. I want to quickly say that there's a difference between having the features of something like the features of depression and having a disorder. Having a disorder means that it's taken over a larger part of your life and it's affecting school and home and work and family and social activities, as opposed to just having the feature, which you have some difficulty, you have some struggles, but not to the point where it's a full-blown disorder.
Okay. Like my granddaughter, she's a germophobic right now, but it hasn't been, what do you call it? It's not taking over her.
Right.
But she is one now.
Right.
But it's not her whole, she can still do and talk about whatever else she does, and it hasn't affected her. But she was the one, she's the one child. Well, I have 3 grandkids, but she's that one. When her mother asked her, which is my daughter, asked her, did she want to do virtual or stay at home? She quickly said that she needs to be virtual. Once she's gone into the medical field, which is a torture for me, because there'll be 3 girls in our family as our nurse practitioners. I don't want any more. I have a daughter and a granddaughter. Now I'm like, no. But anyway, she used, what you want to call it, a medical side of her brain. You know, she did. She goes, I'm going to wear the mask. I'm going to do the 6 feet. She listed all the things she knew she needed to do. She said, but in order for me to go into this field, I have to talk to people. I have to be, she went through all the things that she needs to do to be what she wants to be that would send her to school virtually. Now, she did catch COVID, and she did a journal on COVID. But anyway, she did catch it. She lost her sense of taste. And to her, not that it was fine, but she said she didn't have to end up on the ventilator and stuff like that.
Right.
So she used the time as a positive.
Yes.
Rather than a negative.
Exactly.
Yeah, she used it as a positive of how she felt, journalized the whole thing and all that. And I was scared because I'm like, oh my gosh, she's going to be a nut when she gets, I'm thinking she's going to be a nut in 14 days. Oh my gosh. You know, and I'm the grandmother. You know, grandmothers, we can fix everything.
Right.
Everything. We got this. You know, and suddenly I didn't have this. You know, but she came through it, and it didn't bother her that she was out of school for those days. Because what she did was study, and she pushed herself. Long term, I don't know what would have happened, but she utilized the time herself.
That's good.
You know, we didn't have to,
good.
no one had to, her mother or me or her aunt and all, nobody had to come in and go, hey, listen. She was on her own enough to go, okay, I need to do this. I'm not doing that. And she did. She said, I said, you doing all your schoolwork? She said, no. I'm like, why not? She said, because some of this requires me to be with people, and I'm not. She said, so I put on there, I'm not with, you know.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, okay. All right. I guess you got this. You know. But I'm like, okay, so there are some kids. My thinking is from that. There are some kids who can actually keep themselves disciplined or whatever you want to call it from losing it for that time period. So I'm like, okay, so there are some kids who can.
That goes back to that continuum I was telling you about early on. Yeah. There's some people who will be able to deal with this and just keep rolling. And then there's some who's going to struggle. It's just where you fall along on that continuum.
So in our areas of Killeen, Temple, Harker Heights, Nobleville so far hasn't. But we're having outspurts of gang activity. It's rising high. So I will say some of the kids who've been doing this were virtual kids. I'm not blaming anybody, but some of them have been virtual. And some of it, I think, I'm not going to say all, but I think some of it's due to the restrictions, the job loss. Some of these teenagers can't work now.
Right.
So the combination of if you idle hands will, you know.
That's right.
Create anything. So that's going to take a long time too, isn't it?
Yes.
For us to not fix it, because there's no such word as fixing violence. You can't fix it, but kind of, you know, put it on the back burner a little bit there. So all that's going to continue, isn't it?
Yes. And another reason, like you're saying, idle hands. I know that my neighbor, Mr. Jones, is gone from 7:30 in the morning to 6 o'clock at night.
Right.
So there's nobody at that house. So, hey, fellas, I know a house that we can go to. Mm-hmm. Now, in one of my jobs, as I worked with juvenile offenders.
He's from Jamaica.
I did in-home therapy with juvenile offenders, and they would tell me how they would go through the neighborhoods, right. And they would ring doorbells, and if nobody came, and there was no car, that was an indication nobody was home.
Right.
And that's the house that they would target. And they would kick in the door, and they explain to me how they do it and where they do it and how they do it. And then they would go in, and they knew how much time, because they had been watching, and they knew the people, how much time they could spend in the house. So they would go in, and they take their time, and they would even go in the refrigerator and thaw out food and cook. And it was amazing to me that they would do all of that. But that's what they would do.
Because they had time.
They had time.
Yeah, they had time. And giving time, the strange thing about giving too much time is it turns into a negative a lot.
Exactly.
Than it does a positive, because the negative is faster to think of.
Lack of structure.
Break in my house, kids, I'm going to get you.
I have cameras all over the place.
Yeah, but they can use a laptop and disarm your
well, that's true. Or get some ladders and
yeah.
I don't want to think about that right now, Phyllis.
I'm just saying, I'm just using, technology. They can do stuff with it.
That's true. They probably get disabled from their house before they come over.
Yeah. So before we close, is there anything we haven't touched?
Just be aware that there's anxiety. Look for signs of anxiety. If you don't know the signs of anxiety, Google, look, YouTube. Be aware that anxiety comes along with our world today. It was a part of our world yesterday, and it's going to be with us for a while. Look for negative patterns, and I want you to always remember all behavior has a reason. Nobody just does something for no reason. Even if they don't know what the reason is, there's a reason. And so look for patterns and try to draw themes out as to what may be going on with that individual that's causing them to do what they're doing. And once you get that, then you can begin to work with it. And you can begin to move away from some negative behavior, negative issues, and replace that. Anytime you take something away from someone, you need to replace it with something positive. And the thing that you give the most attention to is what you're going to get the most of.
Okay.
So if you focus on the negative and what's not happening and the fact that you're not getting out of bed and all of that other stuff, you're going to get more of that.
Oh.
Because I'm getting attention for it.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So slowly slip in some other stuff that you want me to do. Not a whole lot at first, gradually. And before you know it, I'm in the bed less.
Right. Okay.
And I'm regaining control over my life without having to narrow myself to my room.
Okay. So I have two last questions for you before we go. One is a suggestion that someone else gave me.
Okay.
And two, first of all, if someone needs to see you,
yes,
how can they reach you?
They can reach me at Lake Inc.'s Professional Services. My telephone number is 254-368-6177. At this time, because I'm working two jobs, I only have evening appointments and some Saturdays.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm open for new clients.
Okay. And the second one is someone asked me, since we're doing a lot of virtual stuff.
Yes.
This lady asked me, can you possibly ever do a counseling session via Facebook Live?
Oh, I haven't done one on Facebook Live, but I am doing virtual counseling now.
Yeah, but she was asking, could you do it Facebook Live? Like we just sat here talking, you sit and talk. Because she was asking me, because she's a parent with two kids. Neither one of her kids can walk.
Okay.
So her coming to see somebody is hard as I don't know what. She has questions, but yeah, she would have to do virtual. But she was saying, just give some pointers. Can you ever do a Facebook Live? Not where you're giving away everything that people pay you for, but just little
snippets.
Yeah, yes. So I was told that.
I'm going to look into that. I have a website.
Okay.
I have a website, and I would like that to be a feature of the website that I have. So I'm going to look into how to do that, and then I'll get back with you. Okay. And I'm leaving my card with you in case anybody's interested in getting in touch with me. Okay. But my website, and I would love for you guys to visit it. I'm open for any suggestions and input. Oh, okay. It's Lake Inc.'s Professional Services.com. It's just that simple.
And on Facebook, they can reach you as who?
Thomas L. Jones. Yeah.
'Cause we have a lot of Facebook people who would rather link out to you.
And I'm trying to get on the ball with LinkedIn, and so I have a couple of those things, and I have what do they call it? A digital business card.
Yes.
I put that on Facebook.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I'm coming around with my old self.
You know, you got to jump out back out. You just jump back out there. Because kids will pull you in. Get out and do this. You're like, okay, fine. But yeah, she asked me to ask you about the Facebook Live. And the reason why she asked that is, Dr. Christine Mann.
Yeah.
She has a town hall meeting. Well, she calls it town hall, but she does Facebook Live where she talks about some of the patients, some of the COVID things, the updates. She does Facebook Live. Okay. So, you know, she's the one who beat us up about the mask. Because I was wearing the cute mask, too.
Yeah, yeah.
I was doing the cute. I was cool. Until she, you know, beat me up a couple times. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I don't wear those cool masks anymore. I went and paid the money to buy boxes of the masks that I have. But she does that. Quite often she does it whenever she needs to alert people, which gave people a lot of help. Right. And she also got people out of the house. Right. By saying some of the things you just said. Okay. You know, so that's why. And a lot of people are looking for different people in different areas to do a Facebook Live so that everybody can tune in and go, okay, gotcha. But that's something
like that, yeah.
For you to, he going to like, golly.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But just a thought. Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
And between you and Dr. Mann, I will be bringing you all back. Okay. Because as this thing gets out of control, there's going to be more questions. Right. We're going to have more scenarios coming up. Okay. Spring break is coming. Right. Well, they've been on virtual break forever, so now spring break is coming. You know, so, and our numbers are going to climb now. We're 10 days after any holidays when our numbers spike. So they have spiked. Right. And I'm going to say this to everybody. To me, our governor did the dumbest thing in the world because he closed the bars down. I don't think school buses drop at the bar on the way taking the kids home. You know, so I don't know how that aligned with our numbers going up. But anyway, that's what he did. But I want to thank everyone for listening to Community Connections this morning. I hope you gained a whole bunch of knowledge, and you also know how to reach Dr. Jones. And if you go to my Facebook page, I share with him because he's a friend on my page. I don't know how he maintains being a friend on my page. Yeah, I know how my page be looking. Woo! Oh, okay. But anyway, I want you to reach out to him if need be. You know, every now and then, people in our community who look like us are scared of people like Tom Jones. And not because he's Tom Jones, but that title he has sends some people to be scared. But we need to stop that, and we need to start reaching out if we do need any help. It's better to reach out and get help than to stay home and suffer from it. So I want to thank everyone for listening to Community Connections this morning. I want you to always remember you cannot lead a positive life with a negative mind. We'll talk to you next Sunday. Bye.